guys, welcome back to the CP Lawn Service YouTube channel. I want to introduce my wife, Alexis.
Hi everyone.
She's going to be the guest star for this video. In this video we're going to go through a commercial bid that we did this past week and tell you guys a little bit about what we learned from it.
So if you tuned in with us last week, Christian discussed a potential commercial lawn care bid that we were working on, and he actually had the opportunity to meet with that company this past week and kind of figured out how we're going to proceed from here after that meeting.
So for a variety of reasons we decided not to move forward with that contract, and we're just going to have a little discussion now about what we learned from that experience. So one of the most important things we learned was knowing our limits and kind of just what kind of work we're capable of doing.
So this would have been a $60,000 contract for us, which seems great on the surface. However, it pretty much would have taken up all of our time and resources because for right now we're not hiring out work or contractors, we're doing the work ourselves. So a $60,000 contract sounds great, but it was a massive area and we wouldn't have been able to cover all of it.
So through talking to the guy who kind of gave me a tour through the property, I learned that for the previous year they've had a crew of 7 or 8 people come in, and it takes those people a day and a half to complete all of the work. For us, we've got 3 people maximum working on a crew, so essentially this would be a full-time job just taking care of this one property. So when you take out all the expenses and taxes and everything on the $60,000 contract, we really figured that we weren't going to be making as much money as we could have, say with a full-time list of residential contracts or smaller commercial. So that's one big reason we decided not to go with this contract.
So after Christian's meeting with the company, we discussed it and kind of considered that it really doesn't make much sense for us to pursue contracts that are that large and would take up that much of our manpower. That's something that we would definitely consider and would be beneficial to do down the road when we maybe have enough manpower to send out separate crews, and we can have one crew handle that while others are able to handle other clients.
And then another detriment of taking on that kind of work is it would mean that our truck and our people would be at that property every single day. And since we're early on in our company right now, we want to get our name out there as much as possible. So while it's not necessarily the most convenient thing ever, our time spent driving between houses and between different properties mowing is some of our best advertising opportunities. So we want to take advantage of those as much as possible, and that's something we wouldn't be able to do if we had just that one big contract where we're spending all our time.
And along with that, we kind of would have all of our eggs in one basket. Say they don't have as much work for us to do. It's mostly all mowing and maintenance, but it doesn't really give us the opportunity to build a client base that can also turn into landscaping projects and so on and so forth from there. We'd really lock ourselves into that one contract and be very dependent on that company.
Another thing I learned was that commercial clients are able to jerk you around a lot more than residential clients would be able to. So for example, if you have a client in a residential neighborhood whose lawn you're taking care of, you know who's cutting the check, you know who you need to go to if you have a question about the lawn or what's expected of you. However, with a commercial client, you don't know those people. You don't really know who's in charge. You don't know who's responsible for paying you. There are definitely benefits because you're working with business people and they're going to get you paid every month, every week, whatever. However, those payments are most likely going to be on your terms because that's a bigger company. Basically, they're able to call the shots because they've been doing this for longer than we have. So in this particular case, we would have gotten a PO as soon as we signed the contract. However, we wouldn't have gotten paid until 120 days after we invoiced that original PO. So essentially that would be 4 months where we were doing the work but hadn't seen any money for it. And for us, a small company that's just getting started, that's just way too much expense to eat up front. Say we have to hire somebody to take care of this property, that means we're going to be paying them, paying for all the gas, all the equipment, all of that, before we even see a cent of the money for the work that we're doing. So that's another reason that we just couldn't take this contract. The last thing I want to hit on quickly is the e-auction format of submitting bids. So for those of you who don't know what that is, basically the company who's interested in hiring out their lawn care will get 3 or 4 different companies and send them a link that will take them to an online auction where the company will set a maximum dollar amount that they're willing to pay for the lawn care. and then the other lawn care companies will submit lower and lower bids until someone's basically gone as low as they're willing to go, and that's the person that basically ends up with the contract. So I wasn't a big fan of this because, you know, basically the lawn care companies are going to go lower than they want. So initially someone's going to win the contract, but it's going to be for a lesser amount than they probably would have preferred.
So just a quick recap of what we learned. 1, know what you're capable of as a company. 2, know what you're getting into with commercial clients, and particularly the difference between commercial and residential clients. And 3, beware of e-auctions.
All right, now it's time for Ask the Pros. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the winner of last week's segment, and that was Twin Trimmers. So assuming you're watching this, if you could shoot me a message, either comment on this video or shoot me a message on Instagram so I can get your contact info and send that gift card your way.
So for our first question, we're going to ask about hiring employees. Do you hire someone who is going to be the least expensive labor but maybe not the most experienced, or are you willing to pay more for someone who's going to do a good job and maybe has more landscaping experience? Number 2 would be Google ads versus Facebook ads. What's the best bang for your buck? Which one's more effective? Which do you prefer? And then number 3 is billing. Do you bill residential customers like per visit or like per month?
All right, that's it from us this week.
If you liked what you heard, please give us a like or a comment and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.